خب من باید شروع کنم دیگه آره.
Fuck. Yes, it's another shitty podcast. 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 Yes, it's another shitty podcast.
Hello and welcome to the 9th episode of YASP, short for yet another shitty podcast. I'm here with my co-host Ali. Hey Ali.
Hello, and he's ambiguous, by the way.
I was gonna get there. Jesus. And we are also joined by a recurring guest, Soheil. How are you, Soheil?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you.
If you remember, because this is going to be the part 2 of our GTA series episode. In the first episode, we covered actually a little bit of history of Rockstar and DMA Studio games, and we talked about GTA 1, 2, 3, and Vice City, and then we realized it's going to take a long time if we were to talk about the rest of the series, so we decided to divide it into 2 episodes. And here we are now for the second episode. We're going to talk about all the rest of the GTA games. I think numerically, in terms of the number of the games, this one is going to cover more games. But I think only like 3 of them are going to take a lot of time to talk about. The rest of them we're just going to mention in passing in some sort of way.
So there is no history this time.
Yeah, the history is gone. Well, I mean, I will throw in some tidbits and, some small facts about some of the games that I know the development of, like GTA 4.
I always welcome tidbits.
Okay, not tidbits.
I know. But yeah.
Yeah. So,
we are talking about GTA, so you know.
Yeah, and the first episode you made it clear that GTA stands for great tits and ass, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, even if it wasn't GTA and if it had nothing to do with sexuality, like say Zelda, you would find something sexual about it. So I'm not even gonna.
If you haven't heard our Zelda episode, do check it out. But yeah, there is a big discussion there about porn parodies.
Oh God, does it ever fail? Anyways, let's get to business as soon as it is humanly possible and not let you talk about these stuff. We're gonna start talking. Fuck
this
off.
Is this is the one we're gonna talk about. Is the most infamous one for being sexual.
Oh yeah, well, okay, fine. We're gonna have to talk about hot coffee anyway. So
yeah,
before we get into hot coffee, there's a lot of other stuff we can talk about.
Yeah. And by the way, we are talking about San Andreas. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's GTA San Andreas.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about GTA San Andreas, or the 5th installment in the series, I believe. And I think the most. I would say this one is the most influential. The one that before GTA 5, most of the players played, and I think because of the scandal and all that
I mean,
controversy, it actually became more popular. And given the fact that Sam and Dan Houser actually used this publicity stunt to defame their own game to, make it more famous, I believe it wouldn't be impossible for them to have had a small role at least. But then again, you can't know. So, but I'm not gonna rule it out as an impossibility. I think these two idiots are stupid enough to have pulled off something like that just to make their game more infamous. No publicity is bad publicity, that kind of thing.
well, yeah, but in this case, it was almost bad publicity because, um, I mean, GTA, much like Mortal Kombat, knows more about the Congress of American Congress than any other game.
Probably. I think the one thing that makes me believe it wasn't intentional, or at least it wasn't intended to become this big, was the fact that they had to recall a lot of games, and that had a really fiscal impact. They had to lose a lot
Yeah,
of money by
it's
recalling
much.
some of the games.
So before we get to the hot coffee, what's the game about? You play as this character named CJ,
Carl
which
Johnson, yeah.
yeah, which only the only thing he had to do was follow the damn train.
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ. All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.
Yeah. All you had to do was follow the damn train, CJ. That
The
infamous mission.
motherfucker.
Smoke.
And
Yeah.
yeah, there is this thing. By the way, this is a tangent, but I want to mention it. There's this thing I kind of hate in San Andreas, but the fact that you have to drive and your companions are shooting.
Oh, you think that's bad in GTA San Andreas? I think you don't remember GTA 3 and GTA Vice City and the GTA PSP versions, because in those games you're also supposed to, perform drive-bys and shootouts in a car. Difference is that you don't have the option to, move your mouse around and have CJ shoot whatever thing you want.
Yeah.
In those games, you actually have to press R2 or L2, and the camera becomes sideways, and you just shoot. That's it, and that's one of the most painful and gruesome things I've ever had to do in a video game.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, in San Andreas, they do the inverse of that. There is a mission, if I recall correctly, where Big Smoke is driving and you have to shoot.
Yeah, yeah. Even then, because of the new mechanic of the game that allows you to, get out of the car,
Yeah.
and I think that's a big improvement. Now, looking at it, it's a pain, but compared to other GTAs before it, and even some of them after it, the PSP versions, it's actually a blessing from the heavens.
Well, yeah, but I'm just mad because I liked more of the inverse stuff, but we got like one mission.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, before we get into these, it's the GTA San Andreas is about Carl Johnson, as Ali said, and he's a not a former, he was in prison. He's released. All of his money is taken by corrupt cops, Officer Tenpenny and the other guy.
You know who voiced that?
No.
It's Samuel L. Jackson, the cop.
Oh yeah, right. You'd mentioned this. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is one of the voice actors. Goddamn. Uh,
Yeah.
the game is set in the 90s, and it ends. Spoiler alert. With the L.A. riots. But although LA riots are just a thematic thing, like it only shows the city in chaos, it doesn't mention anything else. But anyway, it ends in LA riots. You go look it up if you don't know about that.
I mean, not LA riots, like Los Santos riots.
Well, yeah, but it's a direct reference to LA
Yeah.
riots. Yeah. And you start the game without any money, without anything, because your mother has passed away, and you go back to your hood, Grove Street, and you realize that your gang is, getting fucked, and they lost a lot of their territory, and then you start, with your brother's Sweet, if I'm not mistaken, and Smoke and all the other gang. You start, be a gang member and rise through the ranks, and a lot
Yeah,
of stuff happens. And the main antagonist of the game remains to be Tenpenny. It was a revolutionary game in the sense that I think, even to date, it's the most sandbox GTA game ever. Like the after GTA Online right now, but for a story mode, in the story mode, this game offers you the most activities. Like there are things that are even absent from GTA Online, like weight gain, becoming masculine and not
yeah,
masculine,
yeah.
masculine. Jesus,
More
muscular. I think muscular.
muscular.
Yeah, muscular. Okay,
Yeah.
masculine. Jesus.
I mean
Uh,
that's a Freudian slip if I ever heard one.
nice. Yeah. Well, okay. I'm depressed now. And
Yeah.
the different kinds of food you can eat. You can go to. I think in GTA Online, I would say like 99% of the stuff has become even better. But there are a few things that I distinctly remember that have never been, done again. One of them is the weight gain and weight loss, and
Mm.
the muscle building. And the other is, learning different types of fighting, like jujitsu and karate, and you could learn different things.
It was, I mean, Vice City was big, and I remember Vice City more because I played that more. But San Andreas was truly sandbox. Like there was never nothing you can do. Like there was always something you could
Yeah.
do to just do it.
Yeah, there was never a shortage of finding something to mess around with.
Yeah.
And the map, you actually mentioning the map is also really ambitious and big for its time. Like we
Yeah.
have Los Angeles, we have
San
Los Santos,
Francisco.
we have San Francisco, we have upper parts of California that are like,
There
uh,
is Las Vegas.
foresty. Yeah, there's Las Vegas, and there are some other parts I don't know the names of in real life. But anyways, it covers a big part of California, and there are many different terrains in the game.
It
Like,
was bigger than even 4, which came
well,
like a good while
it's
after
not
that.
bigger than four in the sense of engine and the actual.
No, I think the map size. I mean, just
Yeah, yeah,
purely
yeah.
the map
But
size.
yeah, the map size is definitely bigger than GTA 4. GTA 4 was going to. I'm going to talk about the behind the scenes of GTA 4, but it was going to be a little bit bigger. But then down the road, they realized with their vision of making it as realistic as possible and the change in engine, it was not possible. And let's get back to San Andreas. So yeah, the map is humongous, and the vehicles you get to drive in this map, like the number of choppers and planes you get to use, and the famous jetpack. These all became
Yeah.
possible because the map is so huge. They were like, we're gonna give the players more ways of traversal in this huge map.
And the first thing anyone got a jet or jetpack did was to try to go over the parts of the map that wasn't available yet, and you
Of
get
course,
shot down
yeah, yeah.
immediately.
I really don't know why they put that there.
I mean, it's fun because they know their audience. They know they're gonna do this shit and know they're gonna stop you.
Yeah,
By the way, just saying because we talked about this the last time on the first episode, but the voice acting in San Andreas is, in my opinion, a notch better than Vice City and 3 over the fact that it's not as um, over dramatic. Like people know how to voice video games at this point, and you have Samuel L. Jackson, you have Peter Fonda, the late Peter Fonda, you have David Cross, you have James Woods, William Fichtner. Um, I mean, you even have characters from the old games,
yeah,
like the mob boss, the Italian guy was from Grand
yeah,
Theft Auto 3, GTA
yeah.
3,
Leone, Mr.
La
Leone.
Leone,
Uh,
Salvatore Leone. Which was
And
Frank
there's
Vincent.
also a Sullivan. I don't know which one it was. I don't remember exactly, but we have a Sullivan and a Leona. I don't know which one it was. I think it was Leona. Not sure.
It's I think it's Leona. I mean 3 was Leona.
Yeah, 3 is Leona. I don't know which one Sullivan was.
I mean Cloud is in uh San
Not Cloud, Claude.
Andreas. Claude.
Cloud. That's in Final Fantasy.
Claude is in I mean it's French. It's a French name, so
Well, I mean,
fuck the French.
American uses. Oh my god. Okay.
But
By the way, I really like the French. Everything about the French I like,
what
especially the
happened?
girls. I really like the French, except for the cinema. I hate the French cinema,
I
but the
mean,
rest of it I really like. So politics, their music, the
okay,
things they've developed. I really like the
okay, wait a sec.
rebelliousness of those
Who got to you?
baguettes. French
Who
women
got
mostly. French women. Oh my god.
they reach out to you? Or you just
No, I just
preemptively
no, I just
getting
look at their
pussy
picture.
whipped?
I just look at their pictures and I'm like, oh my god, I want to live with the French.
Fuck you. Anyways, so I mean, Claude is in San Andreas for
Claude,
like one scene.
yeah, and that's like mostly an Easter egg than it is a
I
actual
mean,
meaningful thing.
yeah, but I mean, so it got to be Leone because Claude is in it, so it's got to be Leone.
Yeah, and the events are actually before GTA 3, like 10 years before that, so
Yeah.
makes sense. Uh, is there anything you want to talk about, by the way, Soheil, about this game and the impact it had, your first memories of the game, perhaps?
I think you covered most of it. Um, yeah, of course, it has been. I think the first GTA that I remember completing it and I got going through every little bit of it. It was Vice City. Like that was my first GTA memories. But I would say the San Andreas was the one that I really enjoyed playing. Like I understood a lot of the things and um it it like when I couldn't finish it, especially the train mission that I think everyone was stuck at it at some point.
Yeah,
It
Which
has
mission?
been
the train
a
message, all you
train
had to do was
mission.
follow the
Oh,
goddamn train, CJ, yeah.
Yeah,
to be
like
honest,
I was at the like point that I was going to start crying, and I think I can still remember the cheat codes for GTA San Andreas, which is I think like that's the only video game that I remember the cheat codes to this day, which
I do
it shows
too.
a lot.
It's HESOYAM for
Yeah,
health.
Yeah,
I remember that
Histoyam
one.
is for health, and
Yeah,
yeah.
Jump Jet was for the fighter jets. And I don't remember
yeah.
Jetpack. I think Jetpack was literally Jetpack. If you type Jetpack, it would give you Jetpack. Not
I
sure
don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah, but I just remember the like I think just knowing that like after I don't know these many years, if you remember like a cheat code in a game, it
Yeah,
would have stay a lot. So
Yeah, it's been a success.
yeah,
yeah. And but to be just a confession, much like Vice City, I never finished San Andreas. The mission I got stuck on was the tiny helicopter.
Yeah, the tiny helicopter inside the building with the miniature things, right? Or another one.
The tiny helicopter where you have to pick a bomb, bring it to the other side where they are when there is a construction site.
isn't that in
I think
Isn't that in
it's in
Vice City?
Vice
That's in
City.
Vice City. Yeah.
The
I
construction site is in Vice City,
Are you
but it's not
sure?
on the other side of the map. The
No,
helicopter is close to the
no,
construction
it's the
site.
other in the other side of the street.
Oh, that is definitely GTA Vice City. It's 100%
Are
Vice
you
City.
sure about
Yeah,
that? Because
I'm more sure
I
than you could ever imagine.
Because I remember there was a tiny helicopter in.
There is a tiny helicopter in GTA San Andreas, but it's in a miniature playing ground, and you have to like destroy bridges and stuff like that. And that mission is also hard. You played in a shop. I don't remember why you were doing that shit. I think you were actually trying to plan a heist or some shit with that mission.
I mean, we get to planning heists pretty soon. The fucking boring shit, but uh, because
Yeah, but
I
the mission you're mentioning is GTA Vice City.
because I do remember Vice City. I stopped after the helicopter mission where you are in the helicopter going to the mansion of the guy, and I couldn't get
Maybe
past
you've
that.
had more than one playthrough, and in one of them you got stuck there in another place. Anyways, fuck that. The
I
important
never
thing is
finished
that
it.
you got stuck. Yeah,
Yeah, I never
but I
finished it.
think most people got stuck either at the train mission
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.
or before the patch. The mission on PC, I'm talking about the PC version, because the console versions back then you couldn't release a patch. But the PC version, the part that you have to like, it's like a rhythm game. You have to QTE with the bouncing cars and what are they called?
Oh
In cars.
yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
people, because it was really like you had to hit the exact moment, and a lot of people would fail it, and then they release a patch fixing it. Giving you a better time window to press the goddamn button.
Yeah, I do remember that mission. I think I played it after the patch because I didn't get stuck. Or
Yeah,
maybe
I didn't get stuck either. But also,
I'm just really good at it.
maybe. And this, I think, is a perfect time to segue into the hot coffee, because in the hot coffee
Yeah.
anyways, in hot coffee, which was a removed part of the game, but
It's a
some
mod
motherfucker,
basically.
some motherfucker messed around with the code and found this part of code in the PC version, and they were like, "Oh goddamn, there's a sex minigame part in the game."
Oh shit. Here we go again.
And what you
I
do,
mean,
first of all,
quote unquote sex minigame.
well, yeah, because first of all, your clothes. You have your clothes, and what you do is a QTE in which you're supposedly having sex with
Yeah.
the female characters of the game, and
Your
I
girlfriend actually. You have a girlfriend in
yeah,
San
oh yeah, we
Andreas.
gotta mention that too, in more detail. But when you look at it, it's not much worse than what you saw in God of War games. Like they were exactly
Yeah.
like this. Like you had QTs. The only difference was that they wouldn't show you. And if showing that piece of shit, pixelated, cartoony shit with clothes is gonna make a game adult, I don't know, man. Because we had it in Fahrenheit too. Like there are a few sex scenes in Fahrenheit or
Yeah.
uh,
I
Indigo
mean,
Prophecy, the other name of the game.
but there is this weird thing in Fahrenheit too that if there's an Easter egg that has David Cage dancing with a bunch of girls.
I haven't seen that. Jesus.
Yeah, look it up. It's weird. There is a Easter egg that if you do some choices, I don't remember. Fahrenheit was a good game, but it annoyed the shit out of me.
The only David Cage game that I really like to this date is Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
and then I like Heavy Rain too. But the other creations of this man, I absolutely despise.
Actually, if you go back to our very first episode, it's about
Yeah, my
David
hate,
Cage.
our mutual hatred towards this
Yeah.
artist wannabe,
And
fucking
guess what?
balding asshole.
He's
What?
French.
Well, yes, but one man couldn't sustain the entire population of the French. I mean, the French have had more than one piece of shit.
Yeah. I mean, they have good
As
art.
well, that's your opinion, because I don't hate Godard as much. I don't.
I
I
mean,
don't have. I haven't
seen
watched
many.
that many movies of him. Yes, but I'm neutral towards him at the moment. I'll let you know if I develop hatred. Let's talk about the girlfriends in GTA San Andreas.
Girlfriend? Is it? There's more than one?
Yeah,
Yeah, they were from different races. They were from different races, yeah.
Yeah, you could
I
have
I
different
only had the
girlfriends.
one that was like nearby.
Yeah, that's the first girlfriend I think that you get.
Yeah, I'm a monogamous bastard. So
You're not a monogamous bastard. You were monogamous because you didn't know you could be
yes.
polyamorous.
Fucking hell, I didn't know you could have multiple girlfriends. I seriously didn't. Because back then, for you younger folk out there, you didn't have much of an internet to.
Yeah, we here in Iran were
Yeah.
deprived of the pleasure of, because even in the 90s, like I was watching a video and it was like in 94 and the guy was like, I'm 25, so the internet has been around for the most part of my life. And I was like, motherfucker, in 94, no one had internet in Iran. And
In
you're like,
94, most people didn't have a computer anyway.
yeah. And he was such a like, the internet was a big part of his life in 1994. And when I compare that to my birthplace, I'm like, good joke.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I do understand Windows 95 was like a big deal,
Yeah.
apparently.
Anyways, because we're going to talk about a lot of GTA games, let's not get into,
Yeah.
let's not, uh,
Tangents. We call them
yeah,
tangents.
yeah, I'm trying to remember the word digress, I think. Anyways,
Yeah.
so in GTA 5, like you can have girlfriends, you can work out, you can have different martial arts styles. There are a lot of side activities that you can do. The map is, titanic. It's really big. And the different guns, different vehicles, like you have a bigger selection of vehicles and types of vehicles. And the mechanics of the game are much better. You have the gang turfs that you can, you have to take over the turfs of the Ballas and the Mexican guys. And
Uh, you would have to like spray paint over the
yeah,
gang
or
sign.
go on killing sprees in those locations.
Yeah.
And I think the game is longer, the story, and you have more side missions. You have many more Easter eggs in this game, and I
I
think
mean,
most people became GTA fans because of this game. Because but even today, when I go to streaming platform like Twitch, I see more people being nostalgic towards this game than they are towards the previous one. So it says that this one had a greater reach,
I
and
mean, when it came out, most people were at the right age for these kind of games. You know, you have
yeah.
a lot of free time. I call GTA San Andreas in general Rockstar games as just always installed games. Like even though I never finished San Andreas, I always had it on my computer. I
Yeah,
just
I
okay,
I have
yeah,
it
like
right now on my
oh
computer. Yeah,
yeah. Nice. But I just look at it as like, okay, I have like 2 3 hours. Let's jump in, do a bunch of side stuff because I was stuck. I wasn't going to do the main missions, so I did a bunch
yeah,
of side stuff and just went out. Which is something I can't say for Bully, the other creation, which was very straightforward.
yeah. Bully is a mostly story-driven game, but
But I
not.
think you cannot
Mhm.
say that for most of the games. Like I think GTA is one of many few games, like very few games that you can actually do nothing in it and enjoy it. I've
You would
spent
be
hours doing
surprised.
that.
Um, I had Mafia 2 for a while on my laptop, and what I would do was go inside the game. There wasn't a lot of missions or anything, but I would go to a gun store, kill the cashier, and just uh, go on a rampage.
Wow, and
Yeah,
in Mafia 2 of all games, interesting.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
but
I
yeah,
I wanted to think it's like like one of those mafia legends. Like, yeah, Tommy Two Toes just got crazy one day and just
so they were role playing in your
yeah,
mind.
basically.
That's interesting. Anyways, what I want to conclude before I conclude though, um, so the hot coffee patch was really controversial. It got into Congress. Even Hillary Clinton was one of the most, opinionated and vocal opponents of this game. And this is why, spoiler alert, in GTA 4, Statue of Liberty is Hillary Clinton holding a hot coffee in her hand.
Yeah.
I mean,
So yeah,
if only people would Pokemon go to the polls. Fucking hell. Do you remember that?
no,
Oh, you don't?
I'm not
Uh
sure if I caught what you meant.
oh, during one of her rallies, she said, "Pokemon go to the polls."
What the fuck in 2016 or 20?
Oh, 2016.
Oh, I think that's one of the contributing factors to her defeat. Then,
Yeah.
like, definitely.
Pokemon go to the polls.
There's actually a movie. It's like a very bad movie, but there's a movie based on that, like trials that Rockstar had. Daniel Radcliffe plays as the guy, like I forgot his name, the creator of, like the director of GTA San Andreas. And
Really?
yeah, it is, but it was so bad that even Rockstar, like themselves, after the movie was released, said that this movie has nothing to do with the like truths that happened. Although the movie was like with them, it said that like they did nothing wrong, and like it showed that they won because they won the all the trials, so they ended up not being guilty. But
Mm.
even Rockstar said that movie is like very far from truth.
Uh,
But yeah, that movie exists.
I
Like,
found it. It's The Game Changers. It's a docudrama.
Jesus,
yeah,
docudrama.
Yeah, and Daniel Radcliffe plays Sam Hauser, and Bill Paxton, oh my god, plays Jack Thompson.
Oh, I think it's a definitely must watch for me now. Then.
I'll I need to look it up. It's only 90 minutes, so it's like
Yeah.
I remember when it came out, I couldn't find it easily, especially because there's another movie with that name, and I ended up watching it on YouTube. Like, you see some people put a whole movie in like 5-minute clips on YouTube? It's like a playlist of 5-minute clips. So it just goes through them. So I think I ended up watching it something like that. But maybe now there are more copies of it
I mean,
available.
yeah,
But
I found it.
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
The infamy has made it more public then.
yeah, probably.
Oh, the
Uh,
director is Owen Harris, who, for those of you who've been listening to us for a long time, did a movie called Holy Flying Circus.
really?
Yeah, about Life of Brian. I think all he does is making
Documentaries.
docudramas.
Interesting. Let's get back to GTA. I
Yeah.
wanted to conclude with the fact that I think GTA San Andreas was really diverse, was a really big game with a lot of things you could do, and it made the fans and the players accustomed to having that many choices, and being given a huge playground into which you could do whatever you want. And GTA 4, in many ways, was the exact antithesis to that. And I think that's one of the reasons, like you mentioned, the fact that you always have GTA installed and you go around and you have fun with it.
Yeah.
I think, at least for me, I know there are a lot of people out there that find GTA 4 to be the best GTA. But then again, I think those are the kind of people that want realism. What I've seen in those people is that they're fans of realistic things. Like even when they play GTA San Andreas or other GTA games, they install mods to make the game more realistic. And GTA 4, in many ways, is like a simulation. Like the physics, the graphics, everything in that game
The
is.
annoying cousin.
Well, I don't know if that's a simulation. Maybe the cousin of Sam Hauser was pissing him off, and he was trying to, get that motherfucker killed in a video game. But so
Yeah.
yeah,
Roman, it's your cousin.
but we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that before we get into GTA 4, what GTA San Andreas built, which was to soon be destroyed by GTA 4, was something that I think contributed to the fact that GTA 4 wasn't as well received as GTA 5, which tried to, you know, fix that problem, and it did, and it became
Yeah.
the most successful GTA of all time. Well, before we get into the main GTAs, there are two GTAs that we have to talk about that came out before GTA 4. Two PSP titles that were later, I think a year after the release on PSP, were released on PS2 too.
Yeah, Liberty City and
No, Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories.
Vice City
yeah.
Stories, yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Amiwez actually did a stream of them.
Yeah, I streamed both of them because they were the only GTA games that I hadn't played before, so I played them just recently for the sake of this episode, actually, and I
Yeah.
also streamed them. So be sure to check out our channels, in Telegram, in Instagram, Twitter, because I announced
And
my streams
Discord.
there. Yeah, and we had a good time playing these games together. I played the PS2 versions on an emulator on my PC. I Overall, I had a blast. Like, the games were really frustrating in 20 years after the release, 20, 15 years after the
And they were
release.
for a handheld device, so
Well, I mean, I played the PS2 versions, so they were a
oh,
little bit better. Like, I had control over the movement of camera, something you don't have in PSP version. But then again, since they were ports, they still had some PSP-ness to them, even after the port.
yeah.
The interesting thing, before I talk about the stories and stuff, is that both of these games are full-fledged, full games. Like, they are full experience of a GTA game. They don't cut any corners. Like, they almost cut no corners, and that's an amazing achievement in my opinion, to be able to squeeze an entire GTA game on a handheld device. The
I mean
story is full.
that was before Rockstar realized they can just, have a literal casino.
Well, we'll get to that too. So
Yeah.
the first one, released in, I believe, 2005, is GTA Liberty City Stories. GTA Liberty City Stories, the engine, the graphics, the city, almost identical to GTA 3. Some improvements, like there are, things that have been borrowed from the next installments of the game and implemented in the game. Like in GTA 3, we don't have bikes, but in this game, we do have bikes. The health bar is a little bit different. But overall, you feel like you're playing GTA 3. And the story is actually, I think, 3 years or 4 years before GTA 3. Like, if GTA 3 is in 20, and it's in 2001, this one is in 1998. And you get to know the Leone better through this story. Your character is called Tony Versietti, if I'm not
Tommy
mistaken.
Vercetti.
No. That's GTA Vice City. This one is it's Tony Cipriani. Yeah, it's
Oh,
Tony Cipriani, the name of your character in GTA Liberty City Stories. You're Italian, and there's actually a really funny uh, set of missions that you go to your mom's house, and she's like, "Do this, do that," and she compares you to the son of another Italian immigrant. And then she hires fucking hitmen to kill you because she's disappointed in you. Because we had a few missions with with her in GTA 3, but it was like you only would get those missions from the window, and you wouldn't know where she's coming from. So now you know she's the mother of Tony Cipriani, and she wanted to kill her own son. And for the most part of the game, there her hitmen actually come up to, like, one of your mother's hitmen is approaching. And it is after you do a certain mission and become more infamous that your mother is like, okay, now I, you know, I call back my hitman.
Now I respect you.
Yeah. And one interesting thing about these games, both of them, is Liberty City Stories and White City Stories, is that because they are set like a few years before the events of the main games, the map is incomplete. Not in the sense that the map is incomplete as developers didn't complete it. Like there are certain parts of the map, like there's a building that is present in the other game, but in this game is under construction. Well, like nice little details. And these games don't introduce that many new characters. Most of the characters are the characters we've already seen in GTA 3 and GTA Vice City, but we get to know them better in this game. And GTA Liberty City Stories, because it was their first game for PSP, they were really, conservative about what they could do with the console, and they didn't use that many resources, on the game, like the hardware limitations were more, let's say, more of a concern to them than it was for the next game because they were, getting comfortable with the handheld and its hardware and they knew what they were doing. And the reason GTA Vice City Stories was introduced was because GTA Liberty City Stories did really good. It sold a lot of copies and, it was a lucrative business. So they decided to
And
continue.
I mean, to quote a very famous economist, cha-ching.
Yeah. Vice City Stories, the engine is much more like GTA San Andreas. Like, it's basically you feel like you're playing GTA San Andreas, but in the Vice City map. Like the shaders, the graphics, the lighting effects, everything. Even the shootouts, like when the characters can get out of the car and sit on the edges and shoot different places. That's all been borrowed into this game. And the story in this one is about Wick Vance, the brother of Lance Vance. We get to know Lance Vance 4 years before his appearance in Vice City. Yeah, and we get to know what characteristics he has. He's an adrenaline junkie. He's reckless. He's stupid. His brother is more cautious. He uses his brain more. The game starts with you in the barracks. You have got into the military because one of your brothers is sick. The game doesn't show the sick brother ever, but supposedly this brother is sick and Lance is not of any help, and their mother is also a fucking bitch who doesn't give a shit. So we're in the military trying to make buck, and then there's a corrupt official in the military that gives us some fucked up missions, and then we get thrown out of the military because of bringing prostitutes into the barracks. And then we get into the life of crime, and we get to know some of the memorable characters of GTA Vice City a few years before we saw them in GTA Vice City. And I think it was a really good game. The story was really good. The mechanics were good, and instead of the territories in GTA San Andreas, we had businesses. It was in some way like business management. So you would go to these buildings and you would explode the vehicles, either a motorcycle or a car, and then you would start a takeover mission, and you would kill a bunch of guys and then take over the business. And you had a selection of things you could do with that building, like you could have a prostitution brothel. You could start forging money. You could start making drugs. You could make it a protection racket. You had all kinds of things.
All right, baby. This is the Lance Vance dance. You got to, all right, pop it and lock it. Yeah. Wow.
I mean, why wouldn't you, basically?
Yes, it's
And
a
to
GTA
be
game.
honest, yeah, and to be honest, these are the stuff that get bigger in 5 especially.
Yeah, and especially in GTA Online, like a lot of different parts of every GTA game down the road have been implemented in GTA 5 in cohesion and in harmony. So yeah, these are the two PSP games that were released
I'm sorry I
between.
couldn't say much because I didn't play them actually, to be honest. Because also, they're exclusives and my
Yeah, take
feelings
on
towards them.
exclusives. Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, they don't have PC ports. So if you want to play them, you either have to play them on iOS and Android
I
or
mean, it's
emulators.
until Rockstar realizes there is money to be made. And
There's not much. No, many people don't even know these games exist, let alone want them
that's
on
why
their
it
PCs.
doesn't have a what do you
Yeah,
say?
port PC port.
Port. Yeah.
Anyways, I think I don't want to make this episode 2 hours long, so I'm really speaking fast.
Oh,
So
it's
now we get into another GTA game, GTA 4, which
yes, Nico. It's your
Nico Bellic.
cousin Roman.
Yeah, Niko Bellic from former Yugoslavia who served in the Balkan Wars and war changed him forever. Now he's a psychopath. He's a sociopath at this point, with his
Yeah,
cousin
and
Roman, who owns the cab business in New York, living the American dream. Yeah,
yeah, and to be honest, this is the GTA 4 is the first game I think that happens in northern parts of America.
how do you mean northern parts?
Well, New York.
Liberty City is New York. GTA 3 is New York.
It doesn't look like New York.
It doesn't look like New York because they did a shitty job and
Yeah.
they had very limited resources, but it's
Why
supposed
do
to
I
be New York.
why do I think like Liberty City was like Texas or something?
I don't know. You even have the famous, Central Park in it, but park is really small in in GTA 3. Like it's
Because I do remember Vice City is Miami, it's
yeah,
Florida.
Vice City is Florida,
Yeah.
but yeah, the first GTA 3 is even
I
before that. Actually, GTA 1 is in Liberty City story.
damn,
I'm
I
saying
don't
story in Liberty City. Yeah.
fucking hell. It says something when the only game I think of New York is like, oh, GTA 4 was only in New York.
Because that's realistic. That actually,
Yeah.
looks like New York, and many New Yorkers are like they like because I actually got friends with a New Yorker recently, and she's really into GTA 4 because it's like where she lives, and she just likes this game and plays it a lot.
Yeah. And it's also very cold in presentation.
Yeah, even the filters, like even the color grading of this game,
No,
is really
that's what I
dead
mean.
and
Like
cold.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, which is a far cry from Vice City's neon lights and San Andreas's just heat.
Yeah, I think that shows the aesthetic creativity of the people behind these games, because they actually have a vision and they implement those visions through narrative, music, and the looks of the game. And I respect that. I think that's a good thing. That it's a Russian immigrant in the Russian
Yeah.
mafia. It's a side of New York that isn't so colorful. So it's gray, it's brownish, it's dark. It's
And to be
unsettling.
honest, I'm going to say this, you might find it controversial. GTA games are not really known for their stories.
It's not really controversial though. I mean,
No.
before GTA San Andreas, they weren't known for their stories at
I mean,
all. I
San
think.
Andreas itself isn't that good of a story. It's just
Yeah, because their resources, as I mentioned a lot of times in this podcast, was limited. And I think it's after GTA 4 that they find enough tools for storytelling to make it a little bit
well,
more
yeah,
serious.
but to be honest, I don't think GTA 5 story is as good as GTA 4.
I don't know. I'm personally don't really care that much about GTA stories. What I do care about is the characters. And I think Nico Bellic is a lousy character. Like, I get it, he's a good character in the sense of how he's been written and all that, but he's not a likable character in any way. Like, he's the least favorite GTA character to me. Like, as a person, I wouldn't want to see Nico. I don't give a shit about this
It,
Russian
it's
asshole.
actually it's because of the fact that he's well written. It's because he has multiple layers that you need to get into, but CG doesn't have it. Tommy Vercetti doesn't have it,
Yeah,
or
those are
either of
old
the
games.
three. No, either
No,
of the
no.
three characters in.
Oh, they actually do have. They don't have it as multi-layered as Nico because well, there are three of them, but they're much more developed than the other
Oh yeah,
people I
yeah,
mentioned.
but Nico is like you need to. There are so many layers that he's an immigrant. He he fought in the war.
Life is complicated. I never thought I'd live like this.
No?
When the war came, I did bad things. And after the war, I thought nothing of doing bad things. I killed people, smuggled people, sold people.
And you don't worry about your soul?
After you walk into a village and you see 50 children, all sitting neatly in a row against the church wall, each with their throats cut and their hands chopped off, you realize that the creature that could do this doesn't have a soul.
God is very complicated. You mustn't give up hope.
Well, I don't know about that.
He's
Well,
he
I think
has a
the thing is, this game is like takes you about 40 hours to finish if you want to do all the side missions and stuff, and it's the longest GTA campaign. And then in GTA 5, you have like 27, 30 hours of gameplay divided like into three chunks for each character. So they couldn't actually do that. And each character is a representation of GTA players, like the ones
yeah
that go fucking crazy and berserk, the ones that
Trevor.
try to be responsible and, try to just play the game like a normal human being, and the ones that are just, really into money and being fancy. So yeah. But
Yeah,
anyways, let's get
I
back to
do
GTA
understand.
4.
I do understand that, but I mean, in GTA 4, they did a gamble and went really hard on the story, even to the point that Roman became such a big meme. But it's because they were trying to force a relationship there. I'm saying force because I don't think they did a good job.
Oh
But
yeah, but it's not that they were unaware of what they were doing. Like some of the times, Roman calls you during the missions is actually intentional. Like it's been written, it's been coded for him to call you in the worst possible situation, and the
yeah,
replies
Yeah.
he gets from Nico are actually hilarious. Like, I'm currently driving a
it
truck full of explosive. I don't think me being drunk.
Roman, it's Nico, it's your cousin Roman. Let's go bowling.
Nico, it's your cousin. You want to shoot some pool?
Shit, Roman, I can't talk now. Damn!
Nico, it's Roman. We should go and get drunk together.
Roman, I'm nervous enough about driving a truck full of explosives around the city for Mikhail Faustin. He's out of control. Anyway, I'm sorry, but if I get drunk with you and then drive this thing, I'll definitely blow myself up. I'll catch you later, cousin.
Cousin, how you doing? I'm in the gentleman's club. I think you'll really get into this. You should come down.
I don't know if you can hear it, Roman, but I'm in a helicopter. Yes, that is the crazy shit I am having to get up to after you introduced me to Michelle. Or Karen, or whatever her name really is.
I don't get it. Is she a government agent or an undercover cop? What is she?
Shit, I don't know. All I know is that their friends have got me by the balls.
Someone's got me by the balls too, cousin. I'll send you a peek.
I know my Russian accent is
Mine is
Italian.
also terrible, so
Yeah.
let's not get into mimicking stuff.
Yeah, but I think they did gamble very heavily on the story. It paid off in the terms that I do think if they're going to make a GTA movie at some point, which they are going to because it's one of the biggest properties ever, and Hollywood, when when they sniff money, they all come for you.
Yeah,
But if they're going to make a movie, I do think they need to make it around GTA 4.
yeah. I think it's worth mentioning now that we're talking about GTA 4. Before GTA 4, the games we have 2D, uh, supposedly 2D GTA and GTA 1 and 2, and then we have 3D universe GTAs. Every GTA before GTA 4, and then we have HD era. Like we are now in the HD era, and it starts with
Yeah.
Rage Engine, Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, uh,
Oh
abbreviated
yeah,
to Rage.
motion capture. It has motion
Yeah,
capture.
it has motion capture. It
Yeah.
has ragdoll physics. Uh, it has physics for the car, and I think
Okay, I'm sorry. We need to talk about this too. I think it was before GTA 4 or after it. LA Noir.
LA Noire is after GTA 4. I think it's in 2011, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
well, because I do remember something from LA Noir was the fact that people are like, "Oh, this game is so realistic. When people lie, you can look at their faces, and for the most part, it was a achievement." But I don't know if anyone here has played LA Noir.
Yeah, I've played it. Back in the day, it was a big deal, and since it was by
I mean,
Rockstar Games, people were
yeah,
having, a lot of expectations. And actually, the technology they developed for that motion capture, it was called uh, something else. It had a name, and it was kind of released kind of in the same time window as Heavy Rain, and Heavy Rain looks a million times better than this piece of shit. Like, it
Yeah.
really looks weird, LA Noir. Even back then, it looked weird. I didn't like it.
yeah, and because they say people lie, and how do you know someone lies? Because their face literally twists like
Yeah, well,
it's
they had to be dramatic to make it a
yeah,
gameplay mechanic. And I think the technology was like they had 24 like I don't know 4K maybe cameras around the room that would record footage and then translate it into 3D meshes and stuff like that. But I think it was a failure. And that game, it's
in
the
the
only
end.
Rockstar game that I have not finished because god
Oh,
damn
I
was
I
it fucking boring. I
I
really
did
didn't like
finish
this game.
that. I did finish that actually, and I mean we are going to talk a bit about it later, but talk about GTA clones.
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about those too.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just mentioning GTA clones. One of the worst example of a GTA clone is made by fucking Rockstar.
Yeah, they made a fucking terrible GTA
Yeah.
clone detective work. And I think you should mention Agent, a cancelled Rockstar game that was supposed to be PS3 exclusive back in the day, and it never saw the light of day.
I mean, they got wiser.
Probably.
But yeah, GTA 4 in many areas I think was an improvement. In many areas it wasn't. It wasn't as fun to play because all of those physics stuff does take a toll on a game that actually has a campaign based on being as ridiculous as possible. Like I remember GTA San Andreas being like big and boisterous and has jetpacks and all of that, while neither GTA 4 or 5 have that same feeling for me anymore.
Uh, 5 has it, but 4 definitely doesn't have it.
I
I.
mean, for me,
Yeah.
5 doesn't have it because of and I know this is stupid, but the running animation.
No, the running
It
animation
bothers me.
is
It bothers me
is
because,
it's much better than GTA 4. The way Nico runs, Jesus, that's a joke.
yeah. But in 5 too, like they run realistically, which I always find weird in games. I don't know why.
But I want to have a few minutes to rant about GTA 4 and why to me it's the worst GTA game. It's a fantastic game as looked at alone, separated from GTA games and the GTA name. But I think it's the worst GTA game, and here's the reason. GTA, all of them, even the GTA we play today, GTA Online and anything else, is divided into two major parts. And one of them is actually more major than the other: driving and shooting, like two essential components of a GTA game. So before GTA 4, the shooting was just like you would lock on enemies and then shoot them down. Pretty straightforward. You didn't have covers really. You would just run around and kill people, and that would be about it. In GTA 4, after years of war and the whole cover-based shooters craze, it was also a cover-based thing, which was a wise decision. I like the shooting in GTA 4. It's a really big improvement. Like compared to GTA San Andreas and GTA's before that, it's a fantastic move. I really respect that move. It was a move in the right direction. But then there's the driving. The majority of any GTA game, you're just driving and having dialogue. And a big part of the appeal of these games is the driving. You're driving mindlessly. You're driving in the city, just, having fun, driving with no purpose, looking at the people, looking at the scenes, looking at the buildings. And this game, because of the realistic physics, sometimes too realistic, like realistic beyond realism,
Yeah.
uh, just fucking ruins it. There is absolutely no fun in driving in GTA 4 because I started playing GTA 4 again for this podcast, and the driving is fucking abysmal. It drives you crazy. If you want to take a turn, you have to slow down like, I don't know, a minute before taking the turn. I'm not playing GT or Forza Motorsport, motherfucker. This is not a simulation. I'm playing GTA. I want to be able to drive smoothly. Like, I played GTA 4 for like a few hours and then switched to GTA 5, and the difference in driving, oh my god, thank god they fixed it in GTA 5. Driving in GTA 4 is a fucking agony. It is agony and pain. And for something that, makes up probably 2/3 of the game, I think that's a fucking killer. The fact that this game didn't die because of the fucking terrible driving is because it was really good in many different departments. The driving, I would say I would take Watch Dogs 1 driving. I would take Saints Row 1 driving to this shit.
I
It
mean,
is not fun.
Saints Row 1 driving is like, how do you say it? Ironically bad.
Yeah, but it's bad tolerably and in a funny way. GTA
Yeah.
4 is not funny. You're just in pain. You're just like,
Oh, GTA
please.
4 is definitely not funny
Yeah.
in terms of, I mean, for fuck's sake, I shouldn't feel bad about your main characters in a fucking GTA.
Yeah, and Nico apparently never fastens his seatbelts. And
Oh,
whenever you crash into a, block or another car with high speed, he just flies out of the car. Oh! And because of the ragdoll physics, sometimes the hilarity ensues.
I mean, this is a good seatbelt PSA, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, GTA 4, as I said, is a game that at least nowadays seem to have its own cult following.
Yeah, there are many
Uh,
people really crazy about this game. But I
yeah,
really don't like it overall as a game. I know it's a fantastic game. It's a bad
I do
GTA game, in my
understand.
opinion. But overall, I don't like GTA 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a game I like remembering more than I like playing.
yeah. And, it's much more linear, much less side activities that you could do. I mean, you could have girlfriends, you could play dart, you could go bowling, you could get drunk. There is all of that. You could
You
have,
could go bowling. I mean, he
yeah, you
fucking
could have,
calls you every.
yeah, hot dogs from, famous hot dog vendors. It has a really beautiful Times Square. Oh, by the way, the PC port when it came out, I think it was in 2009 or 10.
It's
It
eight.
was no, for PC.
Oh, for PC.
It was released a year or 2 years after the console version. It is one of the most infamous PC ports of all time. The game would just not run. Even to this day, someone put a video on YouTube playing it with a 380 video graphic card, and even on that, in certain parts of the game, the frame rate drops to like 30 instead of 60. So it just says how bad of a port that game is on PC.
I mean, to be honest, when I played it, it wasn't unstable. It was mostly.
Yeah, like the year or two after the initial release of the game for PC, most of the problems are fixed, but some of the problems are just
I
inherent to the
mean,
game and the way it's
not
been
to
ported.
not to say. I mean, why not? CD Projekt Red could learn something. It's been almost a
No,
year.
compared to City Project Red, it was a fantastic port. Like, just don't even compare these two together. But I mean,
No, I mean
for a game in the
in a year they sort of fixed it, but
yeah, for the most part. So, anyways,
so
I think I've taken the microphone for the majority of time. Soheil, is there anything you want to talk about? Anything I missed about GTA 4?
No, I think you've covered most of it, and I completely agree. It's very I think it's very not memorable game in comparison to all GTAs. Like it's something that if I think about it, it just goes to very bottom of my list, and um, it was definitely they've made a lot of new things. I think GTA 4 needed to exist for GTA 5 to be a good game that it is, because they've like on the background all the improvement that they've made to their engine, to their new engine, and it just became the backbone of what they've built GTA 5 on. But yeah, maybe the reason was that all those background work took the attention of the development team, that they couldn't like make a like as a good game as they had in mind. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's the reason. But yeah, it had many good things that I really liked. Like they introduced so many new mechanics in the game, but they've messed up, as you said, some of the most important things that are in GTA, which is especially driving. And I remember at that time I was playing a pirated version on PC, and it was like
Oh
as you
yeah,
said, the PC port was terrible, and then the cracked version had its own problems, and it was just unplayable. And I remember
yeah.
at
The
that time,
camera would
it
jitter, if I remember correctly.
yeah, it started shaking, and it was at that time it was like I think 7 DVDs that you have to go through to install it, and then I don't remember how many
Yeah.
different versions I tried, and I think it was in
I
high
mean, if
school
we're
or middle
talking
school back then.
if we're talking about cracked versions, I think the cake is still for Rockstar, but it's for LA Noire, which has one of the most backwards installation processes possible. I
I
really
Well,
don't
didn't
get
play
it.
it on PC.
Oh,
yeah, well, I was late to the when I started playing LA Noire. It was like it has been out for a while, and by that time I had no problem installing it. But I remember I was very hyped for GTA 4, and I remember I just bought a new PC, so I was like, okay, I'm ready for this game. And I couldn't play it, I think, I don't know, like till next summer, I think, because I think when it came out, it I was going to school, and all my friends were playing it on their Xbox, and then I was like, oh fuck, I cannot do it, play this game. And I think by summer it eventually got to the point that you could install it, have no problem.
Hmm. I
And
mean, the game
yeah,
itself was released a year after it was released for the consoles on PC, so
not a year though.
I think it is a year. Let me check.
I'm
You go
checking
on.
it. I mean, the PlayStation and Xbox version came out in April of 2008. The Windows was in December of 2008.
okay, yeah,
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
not as long as I thought it would have been.
yeah. But it has a handheld version after it, which I didn't play,
Yeah,
called
Chinatown Wars.
Chinatown Wars.
But before we
yeah.
talk about that, I think we should mention GTA clones, because I think GTA clones are something that were born after GTA 3 and died after GTA 4. Like in the period between GTA 1, GTA 3 and GTA 4, people started copying this game. Some people, like in Jack and Daxter 2, try to implement GTA physics and GTA mechanics into their games. Like Jack and Daxter 1 is pretty much an semi-open world Crash Bandicoot, but Jack and Daxter 2, you literally are in a city, like a very
Mhm.
Star Warsy city, and you can carjack, you can drive around the city. Like you can see how much it's been influenced by this game. But it's not a GTA clone because it is still Jack and Daxter, but it's been influenced. I'm just trying to say that a lot of games preserved their own genres but implemented GTA mechanics.
Yeah,
And then
Yeah,
there are a
uh,
lot of
and
games.
One thing just for people, I don't know, I'm pretty sure everyone know, but if you don't know, Jack and Daxter has been developed by Naughty Dog, so it was the days before Last of Us and Uncharted game, so it hasn't
I
been like
mean,
just a
Run of
very
the
like
mill studio.
unknown studio
Yeah.
that no one knows. It was actually like the creators of Crash Bandicoot, and it was like, okay, we're getting this much influence from another game, like from this open world game,
Yeah,
and
I
we're
mean, they
just going to
introduced guns
yeah
to Jack and Dexter. Like, can you
yeah.
imagine? It became a shooter. And you would have to go to certain parts to get missions and do them. Like, it was heavily influenced by GTA 3. But clones, I think the worst clones were the ones that were released before 2006. Like, the clones we got 2002 to 2006, I think that they are the worst and the most brazen and blatant, you know,
I
copies.
mean, uh, we will talk about them in a bit, but most of the GTA clones that were good were the ones that later became their own sort of thing. And we
Yeah,
sort of kind of forget that they were clones. Um,
yeah,
Case in point, Saints Row.
yeah. Saints Row the Third was a fantastic game,
Yeah,
which
Saints
came
Row
to
the
its own.
4 was my like dream game.
Yeah.
I
I just
really love
remember
it.
playing Saints Row the Third because I had played the first Saints Row and the second Saints Row, which were really mediocre and sometimes bad um, GTA clones. Like, they were outright GTA clones,
Yeah,
and they
but
had no character. Like, I was like, "What the fuck is this game? What is it supposed to be? Like, why do I even give a shit about this
but
game?"
they did have characters. They have Shandy. They did have
Yeah, no, I
uh
know they did.
who
The
was
only
the
thing I remember
Johnny
is
Gat.
getting GTA. I'm sorry, getting the first Saints Row between GTA 5. Oh my god, my brain is melting. I said GTA 5 because that's what we referred to GTA San Andreas back in the day. Here in
Yeah,
Iran, we would say it's GTA 5. Anyways, between GTA San Andreas and GTA 4, because GTA 4 was released 2008. I think first Saints Row is 2006 or 7. I don't know. In that gap between the games, the first Saints Row was really interesting in what GTA could look like, because Saints Row is GTA San Andreas become HD. Like, it's goofy, it's not realistic that much,
yeah,
and it's not physics oriented. And in that sense, it was a really interesting game back in the day. But
yeah.
even then and there, it wasn't interesting enough for me to finish the game. Like, I played it for a few hours and I was like, "This is shit. I'm not interested
I
in it."
I did finish the 1 and 2. To be honest, I played it backwards. I played
Uh,
4, 3, 2, 1. But
oh,
yeah, I for me it was a degradation as it went along. But yeah,
huh.
we'll talk about Saints Row on our 11th episode. So stay
Yeah,
tuned for that. It's a whole thing about Saints Row. But there is the other one for me is Mafia.
yeah. Mafia was a clone that made that. It was the best clone, perhaps, like the best GTA
Uh,
clone ever made, because it was released in 2002, a year after GTA 3, and it was in many ways better than GTA, even better than GTA Vice City.
yeah, and to be honest, the thing that I sort of believe really helped it was the fact that it really took its genre roots seriously. Like, yeah, we are making a mafia movie. It's a
Yeah,
mafia. It's a mafia movie. Let's just make that. And it really helped them. Like a lot of the mechanics, a lot of the story choices, a lot of the stuff you can do in the game are really influenced by that, and it's made it different enough experience so that Mafia became its own franchise with 2 good games and one very shitty one.
it
Mafia 3 was a mistake.
was just riding the coattails of their previous successes at that point.
Yeah. And then you had the Driver series, which I never played. I'm gonna be honest.
No, I wouldn't say Driver was forged as a clone. Like, Driver was around before GTA became 3D and all that. But Driver 3 is definitely heavily influenced by GTA games. It's a clone, basically. Driver 3 is a GTA clone.
There is for me, the infamous one is Saboteur, but I recently played that, so I'm like, oh my god, this is GTA, but in World War
In France.
Two.
I
Yeah,
really like that game. I really like that
Yeah, I
game.
have good memories of that
The
too.
art style was really good.
Yeah, the art style.
it's a good game. It's a good game. Don't get me wrong, but it's
No,
obviously a GTA.
actually, it's not a good game, but I liked it nevertheless. I have fond memories of it.
I think it's a good game.
It's
I
not a
say,
bad game. It's a decent game. I wouldn't call it a good game.
I mean, to be honest, I do understand what you mean. I think it's a good game because I really like the setting and I just love that sort of world. So being in that is enough for
Oh,
me.
so you do like the French?
I do like the French when they were occupied.
Oh my god. But
I mean,
overall, I don't consider Saboteur a GTA clone. Like, it was released in a time that GTA clones were kind of no longer there anymore. Like if you were to call Saboteur a clone,
to be honest, I disagree with you on that because one of the biggest clones of GTA came way after GTA clones were dead, and it's Watch Dogs.
no, I don't consider these games GTA clones anymore
I
because,
think Watch Dogs had influences from so many different games. GTA being one of them, or like be
like, after 2008, we enter an era that GTA has created the genre of open world games, and they are just open world from now on. It is between GTA
yeah.
3 and GTA 4 that we get clones that are just trying to do exactly what GTA does, but in a worse way. Like, they just change one or two things and call it a different game. But Watch Dogs is just an open world game. It's not a GTA clone because if we were to call that a GTA clone, even Sunset Overdrive would be a GTA clone. Like Infamous would be a
I
GTA
mean,
clone.
I mean,
Prototype would be a GTA clone.
those are different enough. That's the problem I have. The first Watch Dogs for me wasn't different enough.
Well, if your game is open world and you have to drive in it, it's realistic, then it's bound to look like GTA. But it's a genre. You can't just say it's a clone.
I mean, not necessarily. Again, going back to the games that started as clones, like Saints Row and Mafia, they sort of developed their own identity. And the first Watch Dogs for me, I didn't have that. I was playing a bad version of GTA.
I don't know. I personally found it different enough to not call it a clone. But let's talk about the old clones. Total overdose. Like, I remember back in the day when GTA was the shit. Here in Iran, the stores were like, "This is GTA in jungle. What is it? Just Cause. This is GTA in Mexico. What is it? Total overdose. This is GTA in, I don't know, whatever." Like,
Cartoon in Springfield, Illinois. What is it? It's Simpsons Hit and Run.
yeah. Although Simpsons Hit and Run is, I think, like, next to Mafia 2, one of the best GTA clones ever. Like, probably, I would say, the best video game made from a TV show too. Like, even South Park, I think, is not as good as Simpsons Hit and Run as a game. Or maybe they're on the same level. Maybe they're on the same level. The first South Park game and
Uh,
Simpsons Hit and Run.
yeah, if you haven't, go and listen to our South Park episode. We do talk about the games there too.
Yeah.
And but let's talk about Chinatown Wars because this is getting a bit too
Yeah, but
tangent.
before that, I'll have to mention the Godfather games, which
Oh
were goddamn
God, damn.
terrible, and
Yeah,
Scarface game.
yeah. Scarface was real bad. Like I do remember Scarface being so devoid of charm and anything that I was like, okay, this I can't
The
play this.
interesting thing about Scarface is that it starts at the end of the movie, but instead of Tony Montana dying in this version, you don't die and you just go back to take revenge, and it's funny in that way.
It's the funny thing for me about Scarface is the fact that Scarface, the movie, had a big influence on GTA.
Yeah, and then GTA influenced them to make a shitty
Yeah.
Scarface movie.
The Godfather was, in many respects, though, Godfather was a prototype mafia.
Yeah, but it was so bad. I remember getting the
Yeah, it
first
was
one,
really
and I,
bad.
I think I played it for like an hour. And back then, I would play anything. Like, back then, the young me would play shit. We would hand him shit, and he would play it. But that game, I only played for an hour. It was just intolerable, this game.
And it's very funny that you said that, because I remember when I started playing that God of War, I'm saying Godfather game.
I mean, God
Um,
of War Godfather would be an interesting stuff. Oh,
yeah,
God, the
I
color.
remember at that time I played everything. Like I played such craps that it's ridiculous. And when I played that game, I was like, "Oh my god, this is like bad. Like I'm an idiot. Like I'm a stupid child, and I can understand that this game is
Yeah.
crap. Like how
I
these
mean,
developers didn't know that."
the Godfather, I'm just the Godfather games had terrible combat, like incredibly bad combat, terrible driving. The only thing I remember about them that I was, oh, this is interesting, was the racket. Like you have to go and
Yeah,
get protection money from other people. And I think, to be honest, you game developers who are listening to this, perhaps making mafia games that, is actually about having a mafia family. I know, like, there is the new one, Empire of Sin, I think, but that's just XCOM. Make
yeah.
make your strategy games about mafia. There aren't any good mafia games anymore, and I'm sad.
In order to prevent this episode from becoming another 2-hour episode, let's jump
Yeah.
back in. So there's Chinatown Wars. It was initially released for Nintendo DS, and it was a, uh, let's say, degrade of GTA. Like, it's something between GTA 2 and GTA 3. Like, it's not quote unquote 2 dimensional. Like, the perspective isn't 2 dimensional, but it's 2.5 dimensional.
By the way, if anyone wants to try these games, all these PSP games, they are now also on Android and iOS, so you can just
Yeah,
go download it. It's like very reasonably playable, and you can even connect your controller, so you get the
yeah.
same experience.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Chinatown Wars did it came around the time that Assassin's Creed had their own like 2D 2.5D game?
I think it
I
was before that. I'm not sure, but
It came out in 2009, a year after GTA 4.
Because I think that, like, there was a trend at a while that every game franchise had like a small 2.5D personally generated
I,
uh
I don't
game.
remember that. I don't remember
Let me
an Assassin's Creed game.
I'll search for it. I haven't played Chinatown Wars, so you can go along.
Well, anyways, but Chinatown Wars is basically every other GTA story. The difference being you're an Asian character, a Chinese character who has come to New York, and he has to. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he had to like restore the honor to his name and his father and some stuff, and you get involved with the mafia. And the story is like you start from nothing and then you become a big guy. And it had a lot of touch screen gimmicks, like if you wanted to start cars, you had to like kind of hot wire stuff, or turn the car keys. And it also had a one distinct thing that it had was you could become a drug pusher. Like you would buy drugs from certain people and then push them in the streets, and you would establish a drug empire in some sense. And I like the
and
game.
one important thing is that it has like lots of cell shade elements. So
Yeah, it is a cell
the
shaded
art
game.
style is different than other GTAs that you're used to see. Yeah, and I think it's top down for most part, right?
Yeah, it's not
it's top
top down. It's like
It's
angled top down, like 2.5D. And
Yeah.
and it had a focus on martial arts and melee combats because your character is Chinese and he's good in martial arts, and those are fun. I actually liked the game when it was ported on PSP. I didn't have a Nintendo DS. I played it on my PSP and I liked it. It was a decent game, but it was a flop. It was a commercial failure, and even after the ports to mobile phones and PSP, the game didn't sell well. So Rockstar knew that people don't want top-down games anymore.
By the way, I found the game. It was Assassin's Creed Chronicles.
When was that released? Because I think that's a relatively recent game.
Released in 2016.
Yeah, it's 16. So
But yeah, I don't know. In my head,
7
there was
years
like how do you say it? Trend. Like I remember, a lot of games had these sort of one-off 2D procedurally generated shit.
I wouldn't know. Not sure.
Let's talk about GTA 5 because after that, I think GTA Online is going to take a lot of time too.
Actually, no, because we've talked about most of the things about these games before we talked about them exclusively. But before we talk about GTA 5, there's something I want to say about GTA 4 and how it was a transition period, as Soheil put it. In all GTA games, you're mostly just driving or killing, and the missions are like you deliver something to some place, you drive to a place, you kill some people, and the missions are just, really repetitive and hackneyed at this point. And GTA 4, as much as it tries to be different, is still a really classic GTA game. Like, the missions are still the old missions, but in HD and with better graphics and better physics. Like, one of the most typical GTA missions is to go on a rooftop and headshot people with your fucking sniper, and it's been present from GTA 3, and you have it in GTA 4 too. Like, you're still just driving people around, you're still just going to places, killing people, delivering stuff. I'm not saying GTA 5 doesn't have these, but GTA 5 is much more varied in
To be honest, that's the problem I have with a lot of Rockstar games in general, except Red Dead Redemption, who I haven't played, but I know it sort of also has these problems. They have, like, in a whole game, 5 missions that are incredibly memorable, and like 100 that are cookie cutter bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think GTA 5 remedied that problem. Not entirely, but did a really good job. And Rockstar, I think in Red Dead Redemption 2, there are a lot of memorable missions. Like, most of that game is memorable.
I mean, I haven't played that.
Yeah.
Guess why? Because it's fucking.
It's not exclusive, but your PC is shit. Yeah. Your PC can't run it. Yeah.
Well, but as I was saying, it's a problem. Like, Bully has that. I don't remember much of Bully except like 5 missions in general.
And I just recently finished Bully 2 and I streamed it. Motherfuckers, watch my streams.
Yeah. Come to Discord then.
So let's talk about GTA 5. For this one, I think Soheil should start. Soheil, how would you put GTA 5?
If I okay, you just put me on the spot like very suddenly. If I have to say something about GTA 5, it's obviously one of the most, like, it's one of the biggest games of the gaming industry. Like, it had so many records from the selling numbers and the continuous weeks that it has been in the top 10 charts. I think it's even right now that we speak, it's still in some charts, is in the top 10, which I don't think a game has ever been like this, that like one game have this continuous success over these past years. it has been the best and greatest that the GTA franchise had to offer. Like everything that they've had in past games, they just like poured into this one, and which I think that's one of the reasons why the next GTA, when we don't even know when it's going to come out, it's going to be such a pressure on the developers, I would say, because they have to make something better than this, and it's not an easy thing when you have a game that is like this complete and there are like these many things that you've added to it over the years and just made it better and better. But I'm pretty sure most of the listeners have already played this game at some point, even if they haven't gone through the story completely. They know like what it is. But for the first time, they introduced three main characters. So, as we told somewhere in this episode, that they represent three different
Play
groups
style.
of people. Yeah, they're like three different. They come from three different backgrounds, and they get together to do this big heist to basically get a lot of money, and everything that happens in between somehow it just the story of these guys, and you can switch between them at any point during the game. You can just okay, I want to play with this other guy now, and that you can just swap between them instantly. Even if you're playing in a mission next to each other, you can just swap between them. So yeah, I would say I honestly think it's the best GTA ever, and it's been one of the best games that I've ever played. I would say that, and I said that it's one of the things that it's very enjoyable in GTA games, that you do nothing in the game and you still have so much fun. And GTA 5 has been like at the pinnacle of that for me, because it was just you're driving and just running people over, and it just like having so much fun and laughing, and there are not many games that can do this. And
I do agree, and to be honest,
yeah,
you're not alone. GTA 5, as you said, is the single most profitable piece of entertainment ever.
yeah, across all platforms, like movie,
Yeah,
music, everything. Yeah,
and one of the reasons actually that movie industry is really trying to cash in on the video game industry is GTA 5.
Yeah, and well,
And
Soheil covered most of the things that there was to say. I mean,
yeah,
GTA 5 is what GTA 4 was trying to be. Like, GTA 4 was the springboard onto which they jumped and finally delivered something that they had in mind probably for a decade. Like, it's crazy when you think about the fact that between GTA 3 and GTA 5, only 12 years have passed. Like, compare 12 years of progress in any industry, like music, movies, uh, mechanical, like car industry, aerospace industry. Can you think of a single industry that in 12 years undergoes the same difference that video games have? And it's been 8 years since GTA 5. Like, 8 years, like out of that 12 years that it took us for getting from GTA 3 to GTA 5, 8 years have passed. And, the progress has obviously become much slower because the industry has reached a certain maturity. But then again, technology is, going with a really fast pace. And it's fantastic to see this transition.
yeah. Uh, and to be honest, one of the things I do like about GTA 5, it's graphically not too realistic. Like it,
Yeah,
I
it's
know for the
more
time,
cartoonish.
yeah, but it's more cartoonish, and I think it's something that worked. Like a lot of the realistic games to me just look, how do you say, dull.
Yeah, yeah, and
Last
they
of
don't
Us, for
age
example.
well.
Yeah,
and they
Last
don't
of Us,
age
for
well.
example, I look at it and I say, okay, this is so dull looking.
Yeah, the first one, yeah, but the second one, man, best looking game I've ever played to date.
I mean, I do agree that it's realistic and everything looks good, but at the same time, it looks so soulless to me. Like, okay, we're basically playing a movie at this point, but
The thing is, you've only seen it on probably YouTube and stuff, but I played it on a 65-inch OLED display with HDR, and it isn't soulless. It's fantastic. Just 4K HDR with a big screen just makes the thing entirely different. Believe me, like
I mean,
what you see,
it doesn't change the color palette. I'm
it
sure it
actually
will.
does. It literally does. Like
Does it suddenly make it more stylized?
people don't realize how big a deal HDR is actually. Like, I finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey with a normal TV, but then I plugged in my PlayStation 2, and it's the base PlayStation, the one that doesn't, support HDR with hardware. It supports it with software, so it's not real HDR. Anyways, I plugged it in to my OLED display, and the game literally changed. Like, I was taken aback. I was looking at a different game. Literally, HDR was big a difference, enough of a big difference that I felt like I'm playing a different game. So when I tell you that HDR makes the game different, you actually have to believe me. Like, literally changes some games. Like Ghost of Tsushima changes the game, changes the experience. Like, the entire feeling of the game changes. Believe me, you have to just personally experience it.
I mean, maybe one day, but at the same time, I do like more stylized stuff over more realistic stuff, and I think GTA has that balance that it doesn't look too realistic, but it looks stylized enough that I'm saying, okay, it's okay. And even like as you said, 8 years later, it doesn't look out of date.
Yeah, I think cartoonish graphics, like, look at Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. How many years has it been? 2005, I think it was
I
released.
very recently have started playing the original black and white, which I mean,
Mm,
I don't know any of you have played.
I have never finished them. I should actually finish them.
Black and White and Black and White 2.
Yeah,
Black and White 2, I never finished. I'm always stuck on the last mission because that mission is so fucking bad. But especially for someone with my play style, which is peaceful, I play peaceful. And so the last mission is literally a war mission. So I don't know why. But as I was saying, it sort of looks old, but it doesn't look outdated.
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, and GTA 5 is big. To be honest, it's also kind of overwhelming to the point that I don't find myself going back to it. Like right now, I do want to go back to San Andreas and Vice City, but I don't feel that drive to GTA 5.
I understand. Like, it is overwhelming, and the map is just gigantic. Like, it's the best successor to GTA San Andreas, in my opinion. Like, the map is as big, the location is kind of the same, but actually bigger. The activities are back, like, there are a crazy number of things you can do, even in story mode. We haven't even scratched the surface of GTA Online, because that game is just, that's not a game anymore. That's a game as a platform. Like, you can do anything in that game. Like, you're living a second life. Like, for every,
You literally can lose actual literal money in it.
yeah, in the casinos.
Yeah, I will never let that go because eh, I've heard it too much that Rockstar is a consumer friendly company, and I'm like,
Relatively speaking, it is. Like, it doesn't
I
force you to
mean,
spend money, but no, seriously, the amount of shit they've released for GTA Online for free, no other developer would have. And it's not because they are altruists. I know it's because they have high sales. But I'm just saying that you pay $60, and what you get in return is much more than you would get, like, out of $200 from any other developer.
I know
Yeah,
that
GTA doesn't have any DLCs. Like, but still, if you pay the
I mean, it
base
does though.
game,
It has
no, it doesn't.
expansions.
No, it doesn't.
GTA
Uh,
5 doesn't have expansions.
oh, GTA
GTA
5,
5
GTA
every
4 had two. Like it had the
okay,
Ballad
yeah,
of
no, no,
Gay
no.
Yeah,
I
Tony.
meant no, I
and
meant
by
GTA
the way, we
5. Yeah.
didn't talk about those. We forgot
I
talking
mean,
about episodes from
yeah,
Liberty City.
it's just it's expansions. Like and to be honest, not
Yeah,
very
they
good ones at
introduced
that too.
two new characters, but the missions are repetitive as fuck. I wanted to play them, but then I saw some playthroughs on Twitch, and basically both of those games you're just either driving or using choppers and planes to do shit, and the missions are just agonizingly repetitive. And I was like, shit, I will never play this game now. Like maybe in 2009 with the nice graphics and the whole new GTA thing, it was nice, but now I will never play this shit. Okay, with that, I think it's time to talk about GTA Online. And
Yes,
GTA Online is something Ali hasn't played. Me and Soheil have poured a
yes,
lot of hours into it, like a
because
lot of
I will
hours.
not play. I will not pay for my games. Ha 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 ha.
It's free.
Yes, we haven't paid for it either. We got free on Epic Store, and we've been playing it ever since. And before that, well, yeah, I did pay for it on my PlayStation 4. But
See, you sucker.
well, you're actually, uh, advocating piracy in your
Yeah,
podcast. Well,
I
that's
know.
not a
I know.
cool thing, bro. Like the reason I pirate is not because I want to; it's because I don't have any other choice.
The reason I pirate is because I want to.
For
I'm
some
kidding.
stuff, I do want to. Like,
I'm
I would
kidding.
never want to pay for a Nolan movie.
I
But
mean,
then
yeah.
again, if I wasn't here in Iran with a shit currency, no credit cards, I would probably pay for like 95% of the things I consume. But here, I'm forced into
I mean, to be
piracy.
honest, I do too. I talked with Amir a while ago about actually buying Prison Architect. I said I do want to buy that game.
Yeah. So
So,
yeah, GTA
GTA
Online.
Online.
GTA Online, when it first came out alongside the main game, was really underwhelming. People were just pissed at how bad this game was. And we have to mention that GTA 4 also had a online mode, but that mode was just a
Uh,
bastard version of anything they wanted to
so
do. Like
did
it had
San Andreas, I think. San Andreas
no,
had a
San Andreas
multiplayer.
didn't have online, but it actually to this date has role playing servers. You could mod it to play online with friends, and you still can, but it wasn't officially for it. Like it didn't have any official thing. Officially, GTA 4 was the first one, and it had a free roam mode that you could go in the city and do whatever you want, and different matches like free for all, team deathmatch. It was decent. It was passable. I remember playing it on my 360 with terrible internet connections and terrible servers.
Hmm.
But yeah, GTA 5 or GTA Online on GTA 5 was the one that really made it what it is. But in the beginning, in 2013, it was really underwhelming. There was nothing you could do, like just a few missions you could do, and you could just hang out. And there was basically nothing added to the game, kinda. But in the
Hmm.
past 8 years, they've added a ridiculous amount of shit to this game. Like what you get now, like this game has basically replaced Midnight Club because the amount of customization you can do in GTA Online is ridiculous. The number of cars you have, I think it's like closing into 1,000 vehicles, and
Uh,
uh,
I've
and the
seen
amount of
gameplays, and it does look fun, and it does look ripe for like
it's not
role
just
play.
fun, like it's literally a racing game at this point. Like the amount of you can even change the interior of your car, like you can add woofers to your car. Like it's like you're playing Midnight Club and not Need for Speed Underground 2. That amount of customization, that level of customization, and it's just the racing part, like the guns you can have, the properties you can have. Like you can have a biker gang that they have borrowed from GTA 4 expansion. You can have nightclubs, and you can actually get to see Gay Tony and many of the other characters. The skins you can have for your guns.
You know, an
you can
arcade, which was
yeah, you can
one
own
of
an
the
arcade. You
Ah,
can
you can
have
go to the
bunkers.
casino.
You can go to a casino, which is a new thing. You can have warehouses and start smuggling stuff. You can start growing weed and meth, cooking meth, and you can have an empire in that sense. You can let me think. What else can you do? You can have own penthouses, different garages to put all your stuff
yeah,
in.
and you have your own like CEO status that
Yeah, you can buy a yacht. By the way, you can have yachts. You can have a
and a
fucking
submarine.
submarine.
Yeah,
Yeah, and with a submarine, you can go to a totally new location.
yeah. The latest updated the new island that they
Kaya
added.
Perico, Kaya
Yeah,
Perico heist, and there are now 6 heists, 4 classic heists, the one Doomsday heist, and the last one is Kaya Perico heist. Oh no, 7, and then there's the casino heist. So you can have 7 heists, which I think are the best part of GTA Online and the ones that I have the most memories with. Soheil and Bobek. Actually, we wanted to have Bobek for this episode, but because of time zone differences,
Yeah,
we didn't manage to.
we call it a scheduling conflict.
Yeah, scheduling
yeah.
conflicts.
I have to say, I think GTA Online boomed when they introduced heists. Like
Yeah, exactly.
that was the thing that everyone was like, "Wow, we had this much fun doing all these mission and story mode. It was just us, and now imagine like 4 idiots do it together, and like everyone has to actually contribute something. If someone fucks up, it's gonna destroy it for everyone. So
Yeah, the mission will fail. So the
yeah,
way heists work is that you have to do a few setups, like in the story mode, and the setup ones you can do alone, you can do with your friends. It doesn't matter for the most part. But the heist itself, it requires 4 players, and you have limited number of lives. If you play on easy, like you have 2 extra lives. If you normal, it's 1 extra life, and in hard, I think you don't have any. I'm not sure. But anyways, it's so you can't fuck up. Or if it's a stealth part, you have to do it stealth, or it will, fail. And it requires actually planning and training and talking with each other. Like you cannot finish a heist without being in touch. Like it's basically literally like you're having walkie talkies. You're uh, coordinating yourself with your teammates. You have to cover each other, and it's a really fun and unique experience in that
yeah,
sense.
especially some heights that
I mean, if only it was free.
It is free. You just didn't, get it on Epic when it was free.
I think it's very cheap right now. Like it's because there's so many discounts on the game that it's
Is it
like
over $5?
it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
fucking
I
I think
Jesus.
even Prison Architect is more than $5. So
Yes, but to be honest, I Prison Architect is really fun, even if it's a buggy mess.
Anyways, so yeah, and there are also you can own hangars in GTA Online. There's one thing alongside the casino that uses real money is that you can buy the currency of the game with real money, and I think a lot of the supposedly free stuff that are in this game online mode are kind of behind the paywall because if you want to get them by just playing, you will have to grind the game for like I don't know 500 hours to be able to own most of the shit in the game. Otherwise,
so
you're gonna have to pay.
they're doing
And
the Ubisoft thing, huh? They're selling time savers.
well, I don't know what they call it, but technically they are. And the amount of things that are behind that paywall, like if you have, let's say, $1 billion in GTA Online, you will be able to do everything in the game and own everything in the game, like RC cars, tanks, everything. And some of these things change the experience entirely. Like when you play with an RC game, the game changes to a different game and becomes much more fun. When you own flying cars, when you own, I think the MK Oppressor is one of the vehicles of the game. Like
yeah, and
without those,
the most obvious example is the submarine because
yeah,
unless you have it, you cannot get to the new part of the game. So the last
yeah,
part
and the
that
submarine is fucking expensive. So it incentivizes players to spend real money to be able to get the shit in the game. And in that sense, I think, yeah, the DLCs are free, but they are pushing you to pay. But let's just say you have played enough or have spent enough real money to be able to purchase like everything the DLCs, the free DLCs, and the expansions on the online mode have offered. And in that sense, it is really an interesting game. And if you consider the heists, like the 7 heists I mentioned, they easily add like 20 hours into the game. They themselves are maybe 5 hours in total, but because you fuck up many times and have to set them up and coordinate with your teammates, just add another 15 hours to it. Like 20 hours of added gameplay with story and dialogue and all of that is interesting. Like if you haven't played GTA Online, you have missed probably like a lot from the GTA
Yeah,
experience.
there are characters that
I'm still not going to buy it. I'm still not going to buy it.
No,
well.
fuck you. GTA doesn't give a shit. Rockstar doesn't give a shit about you.
They should.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, as we know, like one of the records is that they made $1 billion in the first 3 days the game released,
yeah.
and it was only on PS3 and Xbox 360. And like the development cost for that game was $100 million. So they made like a 10 times profit in 3 days, and since then it has been just selling. I think the latest numbers, it's something around 140 million copies sold. So
I think it's
it's a
around
big
5
number.
billion. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I couldn't find a like a number, like a
Oh,
profit number, but the copies sold, it's definitely more than 100.
the one I'm saying is for, I think the last year it was around $5 billion, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
We
which
should
is
check this stuff.
a not a normal number even in this AAA games. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
something that every
ridiculous.
game studio
Dreams of.
hopes. Yeah.
Just for comparison, one of the biggest PC events was Death Stranding, and
Mhm.
that game I think has like around $50,000 profit.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't that grand, but it was ambitious.
I mean, it was a big deal for PC gaming because PC gaming right now, sadly, is seen as like dead. But
Not really, especially now with Game Pass and the fact that Sony is bringing some of its exclusives to PC.
did you notice the problem there?
What problem?
They're making games for consoles
Yes.
and then giving it to PC. I mean, like more PC stuff.
Well, it doesn't
Uh,
mean it's dead. It just means it gets them a little bit later than consoles.
no, I mean like PC exclusives.
Oh, in that sense,
Mhm.
yeah, PC exclusives are non-existent.
I
No.
mean, they are indie games mostly.
Yeah, and they're exclusives not because they want to, but because they kind of have to be exclusive to PC.
Yeah, I mean tycoon games and stuff like that. But
Yeah, and
in
one thing, yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just saying that the new Stronghold is out and I should play it. I was just mentioning that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's shit. You're gonna be disappointed. This video game is fucking shit.
Why?
Because I played it and it's just
Oh,
unplayable. That bad. Like it shouldn't
Mhm.
exist.
fuck.
What do you expect? You expect a good game from a
I
team of
expected.
developers that made their last good game 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, and
Uh,
one thing that it's really interesting to me that I was reading about the GTA. GTA 5 is actually the first GTA game to have original soundtrack. That a they asked the composer who's actually did the soundtrack for Red Dead Redemption to go and record music for the game. They recorded, I think, 20 something hours of original music for the game. Every GTA before that, the original soundtrack was like music of others. It wasn't something that built for the game. And which is interesting that this far into the franchise, they finally decided to go with the like
It's
original music.
it's Woody Jackson, by the way.
Yeah, he's the person who also did the Red Dead
Yeah.
Redemption.
And LA Noir. And LA Noir does actually have a good soundtrack, I think.
So that's the
Even though it's
expansion
not a good
to
game.
the online experience. They actually added a few new radio stations with some stellar names like
There's Dr. Dre. He's actually
yeah,
in the game,
eh,
in the mission.
yeah, in the Mission Kaya Perico heist, and the Strokes frontman, I forgot the name, but yeah, he's actually a DJ in this game. He has his own station, and Rockstar has actually made a records label recently. And it was actually, if you don't know, in the first episode, I think I did mention it. Rockstar used to be a broadcasting company, mostly music, and then they had a video game division, and then that it turned into Rockstar we know today. And
Nice.
Sam and Dan Houser named it Rockstar because they wanted to be rock stars. They are mostly into music. They were mostly into music. So yeah, Rockstar and GTA have always had this cross section with music.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I wanted to say something. The people who did the motion capture for the GTA V, like I think they need a mention. Like I think they did a really good job
Oh yeah,
bringing the
Trevor
character to life.
Trevor
Yeah,
Yes,
they
is
was it
actually
a
Trevor?
literally look like the characters in the game.
yeah,
Yeah,
Trevor is an actor named Stephen Ogg,
yeah.
OGG. And if you don't know him, you do know him. He was in Better Call Saul. He was in The Tick. He was in Westworld, sadly. But he's actually a really good actor, like a good character actor, which is something of a um, old art because as we are going forward, a lot less of them are getting recognized.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the funny thing is that Ned Luke, who's the person who did Michael in the game,
Michael, yeah.
when they first gave them, like when his agent gave him the
proposition.
yeah, they said that, do you want to play? And he was like, oh, it's a video game. Oh, fuck it, I'm not going to do it. And then he read the actual script, and I was like, oh, I'm interested. And I think he made a right decision.
And Franklin wasn't an actor, so in the I think 5 year or 4 year period that they were doing the game, he literally learned how to do it, and he had a hard time remembering the
Yeah, he was
lines,
a
and the other
rapper.
two actors
Yeah.
would actually help him out, and like he had a lot of help from Trevor's actor and Michael's actor, and
Yeah.
they became kind of friends.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
As I said before and again, the voice acting and who they get for these actors is a big part of GTA.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
it's
you
time to
got
finish it, guys. We've hit the
yeah.
2 hour mark.
Oh yeah, and I'm sitting in darkness. I've had a blackout.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So do check out our social media. Follow us there. We have an Instagram. We have a Twitter. It's not as lively as it should be, but give us an incentive to be more lively.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and do check out our Discord server. Amireza sometimes streams the games he's playing there. And we hope to see. Sorry for the delay, by the way. We know this is going to be a week late,
Yeah,
but we hope to get back on schedule. The next episode is going to be kind of a small one, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, we hope to see you soon.
yeah. Unless we die or don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Which is very probable. So
Yeah, exactly. Which is very probable. Mostly not feeling like it, not dying, but So, is there anything you want to say, Soheil?
no, it was as always fun to be part of the podcast, and yeah, it's always nice nerding out or something that I actually like to talk about. And
Pleasure is all ours.
hopefully they're gonna show something of GTA 6 soon.
Yeah, Fingers crossed. There was this leak. There was this leak that said GTA 6 is gonna be in 2025. God damn.
Yeah, it broke my heart when I read that,
Yeah.
but hopefully it's one of the many false
At
news
least
that came out.
reveal something and then postpone releasing it to 2025. Give us something.
Yeah.
We're
Do a
dying.
cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Throw it like
I
7
mean,
years
to be
early.
honest, they don't have an incentive, so why?
Well, I mean,
They're
people are
making their
getting fed
money.
up. People are
Yeah,
getting fed up.
but they're getting the money from the literal casino in GTA Online.
I
Like,
don't think
why
that
would
it's
they
gonna
make a new
cover
game?
for the expenses and the hatred of the fans.
I mean, we'll see.
And also, they are right now in a very good position with the role-playing servers, so
Yeah, no pixel.
gave another like life to the GTA
Yeah.
community. It bring it back to the like I think it's like the most streamed game on Twitch again. So
Yeah.
they're not that worried. I think so.
Yeah, sadly. Fuck you people who are still playing this shit. Stop playing it and make Rockstar release a new one. That includes myself. Stop playing GTA games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, see you in a bit.
Yep. Later.
حالا خب بگیم بیاد بیرون من
یه
ادامه.
مثل همیشه پست کردیتس کرگ مادر قهوه رو پرتش کن بیرون.
Now stop record. What
Now
چی
stop
میگه؟
recording. Now recording.
Now we stop.